Hey YouTube, I'm Arwen, the professional joy seeker, also a professional tarot reader, and a Barbara Walters wannabe. So I'm super excited today about a couple of things. Two of the interviews I've got going today. One's that my book has been released, so you can get it on Kindle, Kobo, and Nook now, and it'll be print in a couple of days. We'll talk about that in another video because first, I want you to meet Melissa, the terrible, awful, no, the dreadful mystic. Say hi and tell us a little bit about your channel.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa the Dreadful Mystic, and my channel right now is focused mainly on folk magic, like Cunning Folk Magic, New Orleans style hoodoo, Appalachian, and Ozark mountain folk magic. But mostly it's just about witchcraft, and I also read tarot. So it's, I have tarot incorporated things. I think all witches, dabble in a form of divination. So, yeah, that's my channel, and I just enjoy kind of sharing what I learned sometimes as I'm learning it. So, yeah.
That's the best way.
Right? It really is.
So we discovered that we're kind of homegirls. We both come from the same neck of the woods. You may hear when I'm talking to somebody who's from my home area, my accent will come back more. So y'all may hear my accent kind of deepen a little bit because it's like, yeah, that's home. She actually lives kind of just above the border in another state from where I grew up in Louisiana, and she's up in Arkansas. So we have there's a real similar, it's called a Pine Woods accent, I believe, but East Texas is worse.
It is worse. Oh my gosh.
I have cousins from there, and when I'm talking to them, then I get a little thicker when we're talking about Marshall and Hallsville and
Oh yeah. My mom grew up, in Texas. So yeah, whenever she gets around Texan folks, you can hear that Texas twang now.
Right? Where in Texas? Because my mom grew up in Harlingen, Texas.
She grew up in Stinnett, Texas, which is around the Panhandle, and just
I know exactly where that is.
Yes, that's where she grew up at.
My husband lived near Wichita Falls, and I used to go up there all the time.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful in that area. I've always thought.
I think it is too. Some people don't like it, but if you don't like deserty mountains and road runners and a rattlesnake here and there,
right?
You might not enjoy it, but I think it's one of the prettiest places. There's a place called Caprock Canyon up there that, if you're not from that area, a lot of people don't know it's it's Turkey, Texas, home of Bob Wills and the Playboys.
Yes. My parents go camping up in that area all the time. They love it.
It's really, really pretty. And we go over there. We go over to Lubbock and Amarillo from where I live in New Mexico all the time. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's so yeah. That's one of the things I've been loving about talking to people is that there's so many itty bitty weird connections that we're all woven into this web. And if we just remember to tug, we can find others like us. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of us do YouTube is because we can find others like us.
Oh, definitely.
Why did you start a YouTube channel? What was your inspiration? Like, who was the first person you ever saw on YouTube in the witchy pagan group?
Well, it's really interesting. The first person or group that I really saw, because a friend of mine that I've known forever and ever, Michael Blackthorn, the Deviant Witch, he had messaged me and he was like, "Hey, I'm starting this YouTube channel. Would you check it out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, wow," and it never even occurred to me that YouTube might be an excellent resource for witches. It just didn't occur to me, And so, yeah, I saw them do their thing. And then after a while, I was like, I might could do this. I'm totally nervous on camera, though. And I still, to this day, I don't think I'll ever get used to being on camera, really.
Right? But I have the same problem.
I'm always like, deep breath, and I have crystals everywhere, calm myself.
Yep. I've got one in my chair. We'll just leave it at that.
Right, right. You know, and that's what I kind of love about it too, because it forces me to get out of my comfort zone and interact and you know, connect to the witchy community, because as you know, in this area, it's challenging.
Now I have a friend who started, I don't remember where she went. I'm trying to get the chat propped up over here so I can see it. But she went from Colorado down to Arkansas, and her business is something road, something. It's pagan. She does bones. She does tarot. She does life coaching. I can see her face clearly, and I can't remember her name. But she moved to Arkansas.
Oh, wow. Well, that's awesome. You know, and I didn't realize until way later that Ember Honey Raven was from Arkansas, and I believe still lives in Arkansas. So I was totally blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, you know, kind of a big name witch, and they're right here in Arkansas, because it's so challenging. Like, I think Arkansas probably has 6 metaphysical shops in the whole entire state. They're like physical stores, you know.
Right. Well, have you been over to Hot Springs?
Oh yes, I love Hot Springs. My sister lives there, actually. So
yeah, some of my in-laws live over there, and yeah, I love Hot Springs. But let me, y'all, sorry, I'm making this a travel log. So Michael Blackhorn, actually, Michael, if you watch this, I want you to hit me up, because I'd love to interview you. I was going to say I'd love to do you on YouTube, and that just doesn't sound right. But he's one of those really, when you see him, he's just got such a unique persona.
Yes.
And I really love that about him. He's very watchable to me.
He is fabulous.
Now,
he is.
Do you know him in real life, or are you a virtual friend? I know,
you know,
I say virtual friend.
It's so crazy. Well, that's a good description. You know, we have known each other since we met back in Magica School, which was an online witch school way before Facebook was even a thing. And we have never met in person, but we've known each other for over a decade.
And I've got friends like that. I've got, Julia Waters, my astrologer. We've never met in person, but we've known each other 20 years now. And we met on, you think Magica School's old? We met on bulletin boards. So.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Gosh, I remember those too.
Yeah, you don't look old enough to remember them, girl. You look like you might be 30, if that.
Oh, I love you. I'm almost 40.
So let's ask you this question. I ask this of a lot of people. I'm putting hand cream on y'all. I'm sorry. I'm always moving. Blah blah blah. Got Aquarius rising, so I rarely stop. Melissa, how did you hear about witches in the very first place? What was your first memory of witches?
Oh, wow. You know, I would have to say it goes back to books. You know, I was an avid reader. Like, I read, I think, the entire public library of my little hometown in one summer, because it was so small and I just had to absorb everything. Living out in the country, you know, there's just not that much to do. And the first book I read was The Vampire Diaries. And believe it or not, y'all, that's a really old book, because this was in the 80s, like late 80s. And the character Bonnie was just fascinating to me. You know, the things she talked about, the things she did, I'm like, I can relate to that. I can, you know, I can connect to this. Mm-hmm. And from then on, that was it. You know, my whole childhood has always been, my parents are hippies. And so there's always been kind of that element of the magical, you know.
And what people don't realize, when you said your parents are hippies, what people don't realize is that there were a couple of places after the love revolution kind of devolved and people went off. A lot of people went up to Northern California, Boulder, Colorado, and Arkansas was a huge population. Yeah. There's a place called Eureka Springs.
Yes,
which is still super hippie. My husband and I actually have talked about, when we retiring there or the Pacific Northwest. So that'll tell you how funky and cool and fun Eureka Springs is.
It really is. And, you know, it's so funny because my parents met whenever my dad was going to college in Fayetteville, which isn't far from Eureka Springs. You know, it's in that same area. And that's where all their best stories come from, like the crazy shenanigans they would get into in Eureka Springs. you know, and you know, and then a lot of them moved to like Southwest Arkansas because farmland was so cheap, especially in the early 80s. And hippies are kind of synonymous with farms. So my parents bought a big farm and they raised us. You know, we were out there running around with the cows and the chickens and living life in the garden every summer, you know, from as far as back as I can remember.
So you're coming to the craft, was it easier, do you think, than some of the other people? Because your parents were pretty, we'll just say, cool, open. Right on.
Right, exactly. I mean, they never really got into the uber religious stuff, you know? I mean, I remember going to church whenever I was younger, and a little bit through my teen years, it was never anything that was like strict, you know? We weren't forced to get up on Sundays and stuff. It was kind of like, hey, let's go to church and check that out for a while, you know? And so it was really easy, I think, for me because I didn't have these preconceived notions that witchcraft was evil or the devil, you know, or anything like that. It was just, hey, this is about nature, you know? And my dad was always a huge proponent of the forest is a better church than any building could ever be. You know,
on Walden Pond ruined many a hippie.
No joke. And, you know, so it was really, I think, really natural for me to kind of embrace witchcraft. And you know, my parents have never made a big deal. My dad likes to, you know, tell me silly jokes and the horrible dad jokes that include witchcraft, you know, but yeah, it's just been a really easy transition because I really kind of started out as a blank book, you know.
That's very cool. That's a gift parents fail to give their children quite often, even pagan parents, you know, right, even pagan parents. I've met pagan parents, you know, who name their children these wonderful magical names without thinking that when Morrigan goes to first grade, it's going to be a little bit of a problem.
Right.
Because,
exactly,
you know, it's an unusual name. Stephanie is my given name, and it was a very unusual name. I was the only Stephanie in the class. I didn't have a middle name. So just that kind of weirdness made me stand out. You know, I didn't want to be a Peggy Sue, but still...
Right. You know, but that's so true. And, you know, with my child, that's kind of what we've done. We haven't really, I mean, she knows what I do. And when she's interested, I relay, you know, all the information that she wants to know. But for a while there, she's like, well, I want to go to church. And her father and I are like, okay, you know, we don't go to church, but if you want to do that, we'll let you go to church. And it took her about 3 times at the church, and she started asking questions, and they got really mean about it. And, you know, you can't question, it's all about faith. And she's like, no, I don't want to go to church anymore, Mom. I was like, okay, that's totally up to you, you know. And so she's just free to kind of explore and figure out who she is, you know.
Exactly. And I think that, I really think, because I actually was given a gift when I was in Episcopal youth group. Our youth leader, I can't remember his name, I can see his face pretty clearly, but he told the parents that one year when we all got together for the first year, he said, we're going to different churches. And we went to Baptist, we went to Pentecostal, we went to Greek Orthodox. I mean, we went, and we didn't just go visit and say hi, we went to a service.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it opens your eyes. It's like, they're so different. You know, and that's kind of how my parents were. They went to Pentecostal for a while. And I have to say, out of all of the places I've been to, Pentecostals are just kind of really wow, you know, but fascinating, you know, some of the things that happen, you know, the whole speaking in tongues and the running around and just craziness, you know. I was just like, I know the whole time my eyes had to look like saucers. They were so big. But it was just fascinating to me. And we went to a Catholic church, and I was just in love with the pageantry and the ritual.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I was raised high Episcopal, and that's kind of like Catholic with married priests. And yeah, right. I tell people I'm an Episcopagan. I love dragons.
And because it's so beautiful, and it's just, you get so fascinated and caught up, and you can feel the energy and all the love and devotion they put into these rituals, you know, more so to me than a lot of other churches. And we went to the Methodist church, and that's kind of close to Episcopalian. They're just like, what my dad would always say, the Methodists are the ones that'll say hi to you at the liquor store,
Yeah, so will the Episcopal priest. That's where I saw my priest at the pizza place once, and he's walking back to his family. He's got 2 pitchers of beer.
Right, exactly. So, and it's just fascinating. It was fascinating to me growing up. And I had a friend who was Buddhist in high school, and she was from her parents were from Vietnam, and she really opened my eyes to that and let me be involved in some of the things that she did. And it was, again, one of those things I just found so fascinating. But no matter what I was shown, I always pulled it into witchcraft. I'm like, I can understand how this works, because in witchcraft, I understand why you bless your food, Christians, because in witchcraft that works. It made me reinforce my beliefs in a lot of ways.
That's a very cool way to look at it. I think some people miss that connection because they go looking for the differences rather than similarities. So
Right. And, but then that makes me very comfortable with things like folk magic, because in almost every kind of folk magic, there's a lot of ties to Catholicism, working with saints and working with the Bible and using Bible verses. And that's never bothered me, because I've always appreciated the beauty, as much as there is a lot of ugly, but there is a lot of beauty in all these religions.
Yeah.
So to me, it's always just, I think that's probably one of the reasons that folk magic is so appealing, because I can see the connections and why they chose to use these things.
And that's, I think, a really, really awesome thing to keep in mind when we're working on paths, is that we have so much connection. Now, I want to move to the next question, because I could sit here and talk this subject for
right. Me too.
It's one of my favorite subjects about how we're all, how do the connections work?
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit, you mentioned tarot a little bit. Is that your favorite form of divination, or do you have one that's more folk magic related or more hoodoo? How do you do your favorite?
My favorite really is the cards. It doesn't matter, tarot, oracle. I played around a little bit with Lenormand, but mainly it's tarot and oracle. And I tried getting into bone casting. It's something that I've seen a lot of folk magic practitioners use. But to me, it was really challenging to get into that form of divination. I don't know why. There's just something about, maybe it's using animal bones, as much as that shouldn't bother me. I was raised in a farm, and I even used bones in my actual practice. But there's something about it connected to divination that kind of stumps me for some reason. So I just couldn't connect as well as I could with the cards. And like pendulum, I love using pendulum for myself. I've never really tried using it for other people, but I've always enjoyed it for myself. So, and then of course, channeling is amazing as well.
Have you seen Tarot of the Bones, or Tarot of Bones by Lupa Greenwolf?
No, I haven't. Oh, that's beautiful.
And it is, in fact, combines nature-inspired symbolism of animals and Tarot's well-loved archetypes. And she actually, Lupa works with natural material, and all of these are layouts she did with bones. Some of them are real, some of them are cast, because there are certain animals you cannot own the bones of legally, particularly in the States. But it's a brand new deck. It's actually available, and she's got let's see where the guidebook is. It's over here somewhere. Somewhere. But it might really meet that in between for you, since you're a tarot reader, but it's got the bone aspect. So
I will have to check that out. I just Michael gifted me the Bonefire Tarot. I've been looking at that since it was an independent, since she had just started. And of course, it sold out before I was able to purchase it. And so when Schiffer Publishing picked it up, I was thrilled. And bless his heart, he always knows what to give me for presents and stuff. And Michael gifted that to me, and I love it because of all the bone work and the symbolization. And it's just very primal to me. There's a lot about her art that's very primal and very folk magic-y, I guess I should say.
It's an amazing deck. It really, really is. It's one of my favorites. I've actually got the app on my phone.
Oh, yes. The app is amazing, too. I think that's so cool.
Oh, I think the people at Fool's Dogs, Caroline Kenner, and I'm so sorry, fella, I cannot remember your name. I think it's John, but I'm probably wrong. But they do such good work. They took the fairy tale Lenormand that Lisa Hunt and I did and put it in, and I fell in love with it.
It's just, I mean, it's fabulous. I really enjoy. I love that we have things like that. I know a lot of witches are kind of on the fence when it comes to technology sometimes, but I love it. It fascinates the hell out of me because
you're an air sign, right?
Well, actually, I'm a Capricorn, but Scorpio rising in Libra moon. So
okay.
I'm a weirdo when I don't follow the traditional Capricorn rules. I don't feel like.
Well, no, now I'll tell you this, Capricorn, here's a test for Capricorns. If you have the opportunity to buy, you have $50 and you can buy 5 shirts for $10 each that are probably going to last 2-3 months each wearing. Or you can buy 1 shirt that's $50, well made, and it'll last at least a year and a half. Which one are you going to buy?
The 1 shirt. The 1 shirt.
Yeah, I can test any Capricorn sun. Boom, that is I have never met one yet that would go, I'd get the ones that fall apart, because Capricorns don't like cheap.
No. It's so funny because my dad swears the motto he's always kind of drilled into my head, that he really didn't have to drill into my head because I picked up on it right away, is you get what you pay for. And I'm a firm believer, and it's just a tried and true thing, you know. So yeah, and that way, a total Capricorn.
Yeah, again, another subject I could go on forever, but let's move on. Have you ever done a working that just totally backfired on you?
Oh my gosh, yes. I those are the ones, honestly, as much as I will whine and moan and be like, damn it, I do learn the most about. I've cast so many. I remember the most recent, which really wasn't that long ago, was a prosperity spell that I cast for, just sort of for our home, both my husband and myself, and I had stubbed my toe whenever I was adding some cinnamon, and I wound up adding a ton. And I was like, that'll be okay. And we had some amazing, financial opportunities for like 2 days. It burned through really fast. I was like, I probably should have just started over.
Well, when I'm doing home casting spells, I always use brown jasper as part of it because it is a calling stone for homes.
Yes, brown jasper is just amazing. And I love the energy of that. So, but yeah, I've had several that have just flown right back in my face, and I've screwed up, and I'm like, okay, as long as I learn from it, I feel like it's okay.
Right? Now, this is a question I ask for people who are down here in the Southwest. You're close enough, and I know you got a little Texas connection there. So red sauce or green sauce?
Ooh, gosh, that's a tough one. Honestly, I lean towards the green more than the red, as much as I enjoy the red, but green sauce is so yummy. And it's got that twang to it that the red sauce just doesn't have, that I enjoy. Yeah.
I tried to explain it to somebody. I said it's just brighter. It's sometimes it's spicier. It depends on the green sauce maker, but it's brighter. There's a kick.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's kind of like, a little sunshine in your mouth.
Now, what herbs are must-haves in your kitchen and in your altar room? Let's just limit it to 3.
Okay, well, that's good, because oh my gosh, I could probably go on forever. Let's see. Cinnamon, obviously, as much as now I kind of back away from it a little bit. Cinnamon, red pepper, and caraway seeds. I really enjoy not just cooking with them, but using them in magic because they, it's very related to home and has a staying power.
I didn't know that because caraway seeds, I'm always like this.
But I don't kind of annoying to get out of your teas, but they taste so good and in breads. And, it was kind of my parents, my dad's side has strong German ties. My great grandparents came over on the boat from Germany. And anyway, his dad used to feed his help. He had a chicken farm like my dad does now, and he'd feed his help at the end of the cycle when they pick up all the chickens, caraway bread. Basically, it was just bread made with caraway seeds, and not only was that to entice them to come back, to help again, but it also kind of ensured that, hey, this was an amazing harvest, and so I want the next cycle to be just as good.
Very cool. Now, did your folks, when you said your grandparents, I'm like, whoa, because mine came over from Germany and helped sell New Braunfels with the Count of New Braunfels in Bexar County. Yeah. So I've got actually Prussians and Germans. So you don't have Rillings in your family, like? You don't have any Rillings?
No, Albertson, S-E-N. That's my grandmother's family, and then my dad's, his dad's side is all Scots-Irish, and then my mom is Watson. So she's all English and Irish.
We are related then, because my grandmother is Scot-Irish, and my mother is Scot-Irish on one side and German on the other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like, there's like nothing else. I did DNA.
Yes, and that's it. That's all we've got is German and Scots-Irish.
I'm 95% European. I kept telling people I'm hopelessly European, y'all. I don't have any. There's no hidden Native American. I don't have any cool ancestors. The only ancestor I have that is cool, I have two, but one of them, the last name is Shepherd, not unusual.
Right.
His first name is Germanicus.
Oh, wow. That is unusual.
Right. Thank you. I've got a dog for an ancestor.
Right.
So, speaking of ancestors, how do ancestors work in your path? Do you have ancestor worship? Do you talk to them?
Yes, definitely. I have an ancestral altar. Honestly, that was kind of really my first altar and first real connection, because my great grandmother on my dad's side she was a witch, and everybody, the whole town was like, oh yeah, she was a witch. It was rumored that she predicted her own death, exactly how she would die.
And I'm hearing that she was an incredible cook. She was kind of like
a
magic cooker, so people would go to her for like breads and stuff, and her pies were really important.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Her pies. Really, I think that there's still an argument over who has her actual pie recipes, because they were just phenomenal. And
older sister's line. She said the older sister's line has the right recipe.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I have to tell Dad.
That's what I was just told, was the older sister, and something about carrots.
Oh, the carrots doesn't really relate, but I'll have to ask Dad.
I don't know what carrots are. Yeah, I don't know what the carrots are. She's saying carrots were a sweetener.
Huh. I'll have to ask. I'm sure there's an interesting story about that. But yeah, she and so she was someone I really connected with. In fact, she was around when I was very young and passed away, and she would read cards, regular playing cards, and it always fascinated me. I didn't know what she was doing. I was teeny tiny, but I would talk to her whenever I was little. After she passed, I had no idea. I mean, I was tiny, and it would really freak everyone out. And I didn't understand why it freaked everyone out so bad that I was talking to Nishi, That's what everyone called her, was Nishi. And
That's weird because I heard the name Missy when she was here, but I thought that had to be your nickname.
no, Nishi, was hers. That's what everyone called her, was Nishi.
Yeah, because I heard Missy like SS, not Miss She.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. And I apologize. I should have warned you before that sometimes happens.
Oh no, that's totally amazing. I love it. I love it.
Okay. But the carrots, she said, were the secret in something she did. I don't know if it was a carrot cake. Something she did. She put like grated carrots up, and people may not have known it as a sweetener,
Right.
but it helped something in the.
Oh, I'll have to ask Dad. I'm sure he'll know. That was her favorite. My dad was her favorite grandchild. And so, all of his offspring, of course, were her favorites. But yeah, so that's how it started in my ancestral work. And I realized that, hey, okay, I'm talking to a lady who's no longer, physically with us, but I'm connected to her. And since then, it just seemed like a natural part of my practice before I even understood that, hey, that is actually, something people do. They have ancestral altars and they talk to their ancestors. And so, yeah, it's always been a big part of my practice.
That's awesome. I want to go now. In Wicca, we tend to have deities that we name. Do you have, you don't have to, now let me preface all this with a whole bunch of rambling. I'm going to ask you how you honor or care for your deity if you do, and if you want to. Some people don't like to talk about that, and I'm one of them. I actually don't name my deity because I haven't been told I can yet. So,
right.
Do you have that kind of work in your past?
I do, and it's kind of interesting. I've gotten to be kind of like you. I don't name my deity anymore because the last few times I have, the video will screw up or something will happen, and I feel like maybe I'm not supposed to say. So, but yes, I do honor deity. I work with a few deities, and probably the main two that people kind of freak out about that I do name is the Witch Father and Witch Mother, or the King and Queen of Elfame. They would be my main ones that I feel is okay to talk about. and so I do, and I honor them in all kinds of ways. I think we all kind of follow some of the same rules as giving offerings and having, special places on our altar. But I also enjoy making like donations to charities. I mean, I won't necessarily tell a charity, hey, this is from the Witch Father,
Oberon said.
Yeah, right. Because I'm sure they'd be, oh my gosh, but they know, and I know, that I make donations, and I'll take care of like where I live in the neighborhood I live in. I'll take care of like the roads and make sure things are clean. And that's kind of the way I honor my deities and do things to me that feel more than just giving them a rotten apple or, an apple that's going to rot. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm, yeah. It's more substantial to me. It's like I'm actually giving back.
It's service. It's service. You're going out. And I think what people sometimes we don't think about it. It was really drilled into me when I was in my Wiccan training that, as a first degree, I had this responsibility. At a second degree, it was responsibility to self. As a second degree, it was responsibility to my coven. And as a third degree, it was responsibility to the community. So it kind of bloomed outwards. But service was a big deal. Christians have it right when they say that they give back to the Lord by working at soup kitchens, by knocking on doors. I will actually if somebody knocks on my door, I'm going to talk to them, because if I can't honor their religious beliefs, I can never ask them to honor mine.
Right. It's always I kind of get disheartened when I see a lot of people of other spiritualities, not just witchcraft, but also, just all kinds of spiritualities that really knock down other religions. I just don't feel, as much as, yes, I will be right there with you if the Westboro Baptist Church comes up and tries to mess with you. I'll have your back, and I will be just as pissed as you are.
Please, girl.
But
yes.
That's not a reflection of the entire, Christian community. So I try my best to not be like, oh, I'm just going to bash them because I'm a witch and they're Christians and look at what they did to us. Because, whenever Christianity was a little bitty tiny thing, we were pretty shitty to them. So,
right?
I mean, it goes both ways. So I do my best not to judge, not judge a whole religion based on the worst of it. Because if people look at witchcraft and judge us by the worst of us, we would look pretty shitty.
Yeah. And I think that's a really, really good point that we forget is power, the power structure and the power struggle has been ongoing for a very long time.
It has.
And if, people talk to me about how evil Christians are, I'm now going to say Christians and the Lions, we fucked that one up.
Right. For sure. And so it's really, I try to keep things in perspective, but like I said, it's, we all can get in those moments where, especially under the current, political climate, where it's like, you know what, screw you guys, but at the same time, it's like, as much as there, I know that we all can complain about the witch community, like, oh, well, there's people in the witch community that will bash people, put down newbies and things like that. And there's just as many Christians that act, poorly. They don't act like Christians. We comment on it all the time. Oh, they should act like a Christian. That's not how a Christian acts. So to me, every group has bad apples, and I do my best not to judge that group by those bad apples.
Right. And I do my best not to be one of the bad apples.
Right. Me too. And don't get me wrong, I can totally have my moments where I'm like, I'm really fed up with this right here and nah. But I won't even lie, overall, I try not to be that way.
I can do the rant, sister. I can do the rant. Well, let's ask a couple of last questions. What's something that always brings you joy?
Oh my God, music and family. I think they're both on the same level. As much as I love my family above all else, and they do always bring me joy, but there are times when family can really drive you crazy. And music, I don't think there's any time that music ever makes me upset. I love music. I don't care, all kinds, from every spectrum, every little type on the spectrum wheel. I love all music. It always makes me happy.
Cool. Do you know Serena Ryder? She did the if you watch Santa Clarita Diet, it's
yes,
that
I love that show. It's so funny.
36 doors to the front, 36 steps to the front door. Serena Ryder is the woman that sings that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and her other music, she's really good. She's Canadian, and she's just a really fun singer. So I'm trying to tell more people about her because I really think she needs to get better known.
I was totally look her up after this because I love that show. It's so funny, and I love the music on it.
I cannot wait for it to come back. I'm like, it's so disgusting, but it's just a wonder. If y'all haven't seen Santa Clarita Diet, it's a Drew Barrymore product, and it is stinking. It's
oh my gosh, it is
graphic and gross, but it's funny.
It is. And Timothy Oliphant, who plays her husband, like if you did, what was that show he was on? He played a sheriff, and it just flew out of my mind.
Longwood?
My husband loved him.
No, not Longwood.
No. Well, he was on Deadwood for a while, and he played a cop on, the sheriff of the town on that. And then he was in another one that was on, I think it was FX for a really long time. And I can't remember it. And I should, because it's all about mountain folk and the craziness that goes on in mountainous areas. But anyway, he's hilarious because he is such a serious actor. And in this, he is just wild and crazy and funny. Oh my gosh, so funny.
Yeah, but so y'all go watch that show because season 2 is coming, and more people need to watch it because we got to have season 15. I'm thinking. Um, and Drew Barrymore's character is so not Drew typical.
No, exactly. It's really not, I've always been in love with Drew Barrymore. I've had such a girl crush on her. She has just been fabulous her whole career, and she does an outstanding job in the Santa Clarita Diet. It's just hilarious.
So since we're talking about the Santa Clarita Diet, it is only right that we ask you what your favorite meal is.
Oh my gosh, man, that's so challenging, especially since I live so close to Louisiana and I'm just a glutton for Cajun food. If it was the perfect meal, it would be crawfish etouffee with a side of crab rolls and a huge salad, I think. Yeah, with cheesecake for dessert. Yes.
I really should have eaten lunch before this video.
Right. Me too.
Because etouffee is one of my favorites. So, and crawfish etouffee, y'all, is not hard to make. Etouffee just means stew, and it's like a cream-based stew. It's so good.
Right. It is so good. It's really easy. I mean, if you have access to crawfish tails, but shrimp etouffee is just as good. Well, crawfish is a little better, but shrimp is just as good. And it is, look up a good etouffee recipe. It's not hard, and it's so good.
Oh, and Winter Night Hair says justified.
Justified. Yes, that's it. Thank you, Winter Night Hair. Oh, my God. I don't know why I couldn't. I kept wanting to say Deliverance, and I'm like, that's not right. That's a movie.
So the next question, Melissa, is this. It's ghost story time. Tell us one ghost story, if you've got one, that either scary, good, whatever. But do you have any experience with ghosts other than your great-grandmother?
Yes, I do. So I had a imaginary friend whenever I was little, and I didn't know his name. I just always say he was a boy. And my mom told me as I got older, because I really don't remember it that well, that I told her, she asked, what happened to your boy, your friend that's the boy, because I just called him the boy. And I told her I left him at my grandmother's house. Well, years later, my grandmother passes away, and my husband and I just started out. We just had our baby girl, and we needed a cheaper place to stay. Bills were just killing us with added diapers and all that.
Oh, yeah.
You know how it was, especially whenever you're in a new relationship, new marriage, I guess I should say. And so we moved into my grandmother's house because my dad and his brothers, they needed someone to stay, to kind of keep the house from falling apart. You know how houses fall down if you don't live in them. So we were there. And my husband had it was a weekend. He had just put our daughter down for a nap. And I had been talking, a friend of mine had come over and we'd been visiting in the living room. And I told him, I was like, I keep seeing this little boy running around, just out. It's like out of the corner of my eye, nothing like solid. And I was like, I swear it's a little boy. And he's, whatever, I haven't seen that. Whatever, you crazy girl. And so he's doing dishes, and me and my friend are talking, and we step outside on the porch. She's about to leave. Well, I come back in, and my husband's just standing, like, sort of staring at me as I come in the door. I'm like, what? He said, well, I was washing dishes, and I could have swore our daughter had got up from her nap, because you know how kids are, they don't ever want to take naps. And he said, because I could have swore I saw her walking out of her bedroom into the kitchen, into the living room, and then back into her bedroom again. And I was like, okay, so was she sleepwalking? She used to do that. She still does that, actually. And he was like, no, she was asleep. I walked in there. She was asleep. I saw the little boy. It's the little boy. I believe you. I was like, and after that, we'd see him all the time. And my mom was like, I would describe him to her. And she's like, that's what you said your imaginary friend looked like. you know, down to the clothes he wore and everything.
Dude.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I said, so I really did leave him over my grandmother's house. She's like, I'm pretty sure you got him from there, actually. So
yeah, that's very cool to see. I love ghost stories because
I do too.
that connection. Now, our last question, and I hate that it's the last question because this has been so much fun.
Oh, yes, it has.
What is Melissa the Dreadful Mystic's best advice to someone just starting out on their own path? What do you wish somebody might have told you, or what's something you already came into it knowing?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Man, overall, apply yourself. You know, apply yourself. Don't get frustrated. Just take what you've got and run with it. You know, you will mess up, you will find wrong information, but you will never figure that out if you don't apply yourself to it. You know, practice the spells, push the envelope, make yourself uncomfortable, but apply yourself. And that's the best way to really know what you're doing, what you're going to do, if this works out for you, if you really even like it.
I love it. I love it. Apply yourself, because that does just keep doing the work.
Yeah, just keep doing it, you know, and it's fabulous and it's fun and you'll love it. And there's parts of it you're going to hate and it's going to suck. And even the sucky parts you might wind up liking later on, even though you'll begrudgingly say you like it.
You know what the sucky part for me was? Tarot.
Really? Oh, I've never thought that.
Yeah, I did not connect with tarot. I didn't like it. I thought it was the hardest thing I'd ever approached until I found the right deck. And then it was like, boom.
Oh, I would have never thought that, because I mean, you know, tarot by Arwen. That's amazing, though. And that just goes to show, apply yourself. You never know, man.
Yep. My high priestess kicked me in the butt over it. So, yeah, I'm glad she did. Well, Melissa, when I say goodbye, I always say seek joy, y'all. How do you end your videos?
Stay in your magic, mystics and witches. Stay in your magic.
Wonderful. And seek joy, y'all. We'll talk later. I've got Ronna George coming up here in about 45 minutes, so stick around.